You know, there is one specific topic in the English language, actually, in almost every culture that makes people sweat more than public speaking. It's not politics, and it's not religion.
Let me guess. It's looking at someone straight in the eye and asking, how much money do you make?
Exactly. It is the ultimate taboo. We can talk about our relationships, our deepest fears, even our medical history sometimes, but the moment you bring up salary, the room goes silent. Why is that? And more importantly, how do we actually talk about it without having a panic attack?
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's this weird intersection where math meets emotion. We treat salary like it's a secret report card of our value as human beings. But today, I want to strip that fear away. We aren't just talking about numbers, we're talking about the language of money. Because if you don't have the vocabulary to talk about pay, you probably aren't getting paid what you're worth.
That is a massive point. It's a literacy gap. I remember my very first job, looking at my offer letter and seeing the word compensation. And I thought, wait, compensation. That sounds like money you get when you've been injured.
Right. Like you slipped on a wet floor. But in the corporate world, compensation is just the fancy umbrella term for everything they give you. And that's the first lesson here. Salary is just one slice of the pie. Compensation is the whole pie.
Okay, let's slice this pie then. Because a lot of people, especially those learning English or just entering the workforce, get confused by the difference between gross and net. It sounds like a comedy routine, but it's actually painful when you see your bank account.
It is the classic first job tragedy. You sign a contract for, say, $50,000. That is your gross income. That's the big shiny number. But then payday comes, and the number in your bank account is significantly smaller. That's your net income.
The take-home pay.
Exactly. Take-home pay is a great idiom. It's what actually lands in your pocket after the government and the insurance companies take their cut. I like to think of gross pay as a theoretical concept, and net pay as reality. If you negotiate based on net, you're going to have a bad time, because employers only speak in gross.
So, when we are in that negotiation room, which is terrifying, by the way, we need to be speaking gross. But let's talk about that room. The negotiation. I feel like this is where the language barrier really hits people. They know they want more money, but they don't know the polite, professional way to demand it without sounding greedy.
Demand is a strong word, and that's where people trip up. You don't want to demand, you want to leverage. See, there's a linguistic shift there. If you say, I need more money because my rent went up, that's personal. The employer, frankly, doesn't care about your rent.
Harsh, but true.
But if you say, based on the market rate for this role and my performance over the last 2 quarters, I'd like to discuss adjusting my base salary. Now you're speaking their language. You've moved from I need to the market suggests.
I love that. You're depersonalizing it. You're using data as a shield.
Precisely. It's about externalizing the value. You aren't asking for a favor. You are aligning your compensation with the market. It's a business transaction, not a charity request. And you have to know the terms. Do you know the difference between a raise and a bonus?
A raise is permanent, a bonus is a one-time treat.
Basically, a raise increases your base salary. That's the foundation. A bonus is variable. It's the cherry on top. Employers love giving bonuses because it doesn't commit them to paying you more next year. Employees should always fight for the base. That's the compound interest of your career.
That's such a crucial distinction. It reminds me of the phrase golden handcuffs. Have you heard this?
Oh, absolutely. That's when the benefits and the stock options, the equity, are so good that you can't afford to quit, even if you hate the job.
Equity is another one of those tricky words. It basically means you own a tiny piece of the company, right?
Right. In the startup world, people often trade a lower salary for higher equity. They are betting that the company will be the next Google. It's a gamble. You're paid in hope, essentially.
Paid in hope. I think a lot of artists and freelancers can relate to that. But let's pivot back to the psychology of this. Why is it that in some cultures, or even just in polite English society, asking a coworker, "What do you make?" is considered so incredibly rude?
It's designed to be rude. Think about it. Who benefits from the silence?
The person writing the checks.
Bingo. If I don't know that you are making 20% more than me for doing the same job, I stay happy. The moment we share that information, the employer loses leverage. There's actually a movement now, pay transparency, where people are trying to break this taboo. But it's hard. It's deeply ingrained that your salary is your private business.
It's tied to self-worth, isn't it? If I find out you make more than me, I don't just think you're richer. I feel like I'm lesser.
That is the trap. We conflate net worth with self-worth. But in a negotiation, you have to separate your ego from the number. You are selling a service. You are a business of one. If you go to a store and a gallon of milk costs $5, you don't take it personally. It's just the price. You need to treat your labor the same way. What is the price tag on your time?
That's a powerful reframe. A business of one. So, if I'm a business of one, I need to look at my perks too. We mentioned the compensation package earlier. What are some things people forget to negotiate for because they are too focused on the salary number?
Oh, so many things. PTO, paid time off. That is huge. Time is literally money. If you can negotiate an extra week of vacation, that's a massive increase in your hourly rate effectively. Or professional development, getting the company to pay for your courses or conferences. That's investing in your future value.
And remote work?
The biggest one right now. Flexibility. If I can work from home, I save money on commuting, I save money on lunch, I save time. That has a dollar value. If a company can't match your salary expectation, ask for flexibility. Ask for a sign-on bonus.
A sign-on bonus? That's just free money for saying yes, right?
It's the sweetener. If their budget is tight for the annual salary, they might have a different budget bucket for one-time payments. You have to ask. The worst thing they can say is no.
But that's the fear. The no. It feels like rejection.
It's not rejection. It's data. If they say no, you ask, what would it take to get to that number in 6 months? Now you have a roadmap. You've turned a no into a not yet.
That is brilliant. You're keeping the conversation open. You know, listening to this, I realize how much of this is just confidence wrapped in vocabulary. If you know the words equity, base, gross, market rate, and variable, you sound like an insider.
Language is a tool of power. When you speak the dialect of finance, you signal to the employer that you understand the game. And you can't win the game if you don't know the rules.
So, let's say our listeners are ready to walk into that boss's office. They have their vocabulary ready. What is the one mindset shift they need to make before they open the door?
They need to stop thinking of a salary negotiation as a conflict. It's not a battle. It's a collaboration to solve a problem. The problem is, how do we compensate me fairly so I stay motivated and keep making money for this company?
I like that. You're on the same side of the table, really.
Exactly. And remember inflation. That's the invisible thief. If you aren't getting a raise that matches inflation every year, you are technically taking a pay cut. You are working the same amount for less buying power.
That is a terrifying thought to end on, but a necessary one. The invisible thief.
It's the reality. Money is dynamic. It moves. If you stand still, you fall behind.
So, to wrap this up, talking about salary isn't greedy. It's responsible. It's about knowing the difference between gross and net, understanding that benefits are part of the iceberg, and realizing that if you don't ask, the answer is always zero.
And realizing that your value is determined by the market, but your worth is determined by you. Don't let a paycheck define who you are, but make sure that paycheck respects what you do.
Make sure the paycheck respects what you do. I think that's the mantra for the week.
Absolutely. Go get paid.
Thanks for breaking down the taboo with us today. For everyone listening, take a look at your pay stub this week. Read the fine print. And maybe, just maybe, practice saying that scary sentence in the mirror. I'd like to discuss my compensation.
It gets easier every time you say it.
We'll leave it there. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.